Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And also welcome to another video of Dave Ramsey's face as a clickbait thumbnail. So we're going to review the first step of what Dave Ramsey calls the 7 baby steps, which is a plan to help pay off debt and build wealth. Overall, I think it's a solid plan. But the only thing that I would say we got to take out of 7 baby steps is step 5 right here. Save for your children's college fund because college is pretty much a waste of time, especially nowadays if you're Gen Z and younger. Okay, so now what is step 1 of Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps, right? It's save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Now, let's say you're in a tight pinch where, for whatever reason, this month you only have a penny of savings, right? Make good income, lots of expenses because you went too crazy on that credit card debt, and you barely made it at the end of this month. One penny. How long is it going to take us to save $1,000 compared to doing what we call creating cash flow with velocity banking, right? And when we do so, here we have the average American doing things out of the quote traditional way, which is using your checking account to pay for things. And here we're going to use something called a line of credit to pay uh, for things using as your main operating account. Okay, so what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using something that Dave Ramsey hates called lines of credit to pay off your debts. Right. In fact, you type in the word HELOC and Dave Ramsey, two things happen. Number one, you get videos of Dave Ramsey ranting about HELOCs. Number two, you find videos of his face as clickbait on this channel, right? So that's what's going to happen. So when you type in Dave Ramsey and HELOC, so what is a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and use it over and over again. So if you have a credit card, which most of the population does, because apparently this nation is in trillions of dollars of credit card debt. If you have a credit card, you know what a line of credit is. You have access to the bank's money. You can pay for everything, but the credit card is a little bit restrictive because you can't pay loans with credit cards. You can't pay other credit cards with credit cards unless you're doing like balance transfers, right? But you can use it to pay mortgages in certain instances. So if you use a website called Plastique or Plastic with a Q.com, you can use it to pay a mortgage, but there are some restrictions. So, for example, it only works if you have a Mastercard or what's it called? What's the other one? Not Visa, not Amex. Oh, Mastercard and Discover, right? So if you have a Mastercard Discover, you can use it to pay the mortgage. But what's even better, or another tool that you can have in your arsenal, is either a personal or home equity line of credit, and I got all of them, right? In fact, as of right now, I got $268,000 in lines of credit. Some personal, some business. I've been working on building that business credit, and if you don't know what a home equity line of credit is, think of it as a credit card, almost like a credit card based on the value of your home minus any debts that you have. And so if you have equity, then you could almost use your house like a credit card, right? But the cool thing about a home equity line of credit is you can use it to pay anything. So you can use it, for example, if I borrow $100 from a home equity line of credit, and then next month I have a $10 bill for that home equity line of credit, I could just borrow another $10 and pay it back, and the minimum payment is satisfied just as long as I have enough a limit in that home equity line of credit, right? And I can also use it to pay credit cards, any credit card that I want. I can use it to pay anything. It's like cash, right? It's like cash that I can borrow whenever I want if I don't have the money. 50,000, 100,000. Sometimes people get $400,000 home equity lines of credit. In this example, we're gonna assume, okay, that we have a $175,000 home equity line of credit. Okay, so here, in order to do velocity banking, we only need two requirements. Number one is a budget, and all a budget is your debt attack plan, right? That's the reason why you have it. You have your income, your expenses, you have all of your credit cards, right? All of your debts, including your mortgage, but every debt is its own single line item, and then you have all the good stuff in the stuff that you need for your everyday items that is not debt. And one, you could have put in one single line. We'll just say $2,000 a month, right? Now, What we're going to do is compare the Dave Ramsey step one method of saving $1,000 for emergency fund versus doing velocity banking. So if I'm Dave Ramsey and you're in this situation, what's it going to say? Oh, step one, you don't have $1,000. Okay. Now, is it going to take us a long time to save $1,000? Probably less than a year, right? I mean, it's not, when you have one penny of savings and you're making all these credit card payments, the credit card does, the payment does go down for each of these credit cards. And if you take a look here, these credit cards, if you put in, like, go to bankrate.com, put minimum payment calculator, and then you click calculate it, you can see the payment schedule here. So the first payment is $750, second payment is $8 less, $742. So they all kind of add up, right? So eventually you will save $1,000. So it's not like, oh, month one is 1 penny, month two is 2 pennies, right? It's not like that at all. But sometimes I do like to exaggerate for dramatic effect, and sometimes I feel like I need to hire an editor to help me dramatize that dramatic effect, right? And put some music. Anybody out there who does video editing? Or might I have to hire somebody from Fiverr? Now, we can do that, or we can go the opposite direction, right? So what's the opposite direction? Instead of a penny of savings and waiting until we get $1,000, we're going to stick to zero savings. So basically, we're not going to even ever reach step one of Dave Ramsey's baby step, right? We're not going to do it. So what is the strategy? Well, basically, we're going to maximize this number called cash flow. And let me go ahead and copy and paste this, right? So cash flow in this instance would just be income minus expenses using your line of credit as your main operating account. So what do we mean by that? So in the beginning, this looks exactly the same. The savings looks exactly the same as this cash flow number. And in fact, a lot of people, when they do like velocity banking presentations, they always try to compare extra payments versus doing, chunking on the mortgage. But really, the real enemy of those two, they have the same common goal, and you could get there with those methods. But the main enemy of velocity banking is not extra payments; it's having a savings account and saving money, right? That's the main enemy of velocity banking, not extra payments. See, people don't understand that. So now, let's do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we're going to do the opposite step one. Save $1,000. Now, first of all, let's figure out how long it takes us to save $1,000. Now, before I made this video, I actually got all the credit cards and then copy and pasted all of their payment schedules. And I think you call this an amortization schedule, right? Even though the payment isn't fixed, if it's not an amortization schedule, it's pretty much exactly the same, right? You make a payment, principal, interest, remaining balance, right? The only thing that happens, the difference between a loan amortization schedule is that the payment is fixed, okay? The payment is fixed. But basically, I copied and pasted these schedules here, and I made these formulas where it's like, what's the leftover here? So in month one, it's 1 penny, and then you can kind of see it increases, right? So $53, and then you kind of add these. You add the previous one, so 159. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see that it takes 7 months to actually save $1,000. But if we're making all these minimum interest payments, I mean, take a look at this, right? Like, look at all the interest you would pay in just those 7 months, right? So like 400, at least 400 times 7, that's $2,800 of interest on one credit card, right? Isn't that insane? Like 2,800, and then you multiply it by all these credit cards, you could just see that your money just went out the window because you followed baby step number one, which is save $1,000, right? So here's the thing: do you want to waste 7 months of your life to save $1,000 and pay all that interest? Because that's Dave Ramsey's baby step number one. Or what we can do is make this into 5,300 something dollars and some change without on day one, right? So savings, again, this one set this Average American, if we do it the Dave Ramsey way, it's going to take 7 months to save $1,000, right? Here, we're going to do this. Let's transfer just all of this debt to this home equity line of credit. And how much is that? $167,000 of credit card debt. Okay. $167,000 of credit card debt. And we do a debt transfer to that home equity line of credit. Guess what happens? All of these debts, the payment goes to zero, right? They all go to zero. So all 10, right? All 10. So we went from a penny to $5,345.84 on day one. Okay, day one. Now here's the crazy thing. Because our line of credit is essentially our new savings account, if we have $1,000 emergency, get it from the line of credit, right? Like the emergency, you don't have to waste 7 months to save up for that $1,000 emergency. We just pull it from our line of credit while we're paying off our debt. So what's the actual velocity banking implementation strategy, or the implementation of it? You put your entire paycheck into that line of credit, which does two things. It satisfies the minimum monthly payment, and it reduces the interest, because when you dump your entire paycheck, it's going to reduce the average daily balance, right? So when you put all your money in, all that interest is minimized as much as possible. Okay? So now what we do is we just do these calculations. So in order to get the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus this number right here, which is our cash flow, 5345.84. And then what we do is we calculate the interest with the average daily balance. So what we got to do is I got to find this function called here, average, get the average of these two numbers, multiply by the interest rate, which is 0.1, and then divide by 12. Okay? So let's say so here's the thing. In order for us to save $1,000 for, quote, an emergency, because that's the whole point of step one, for your starter emergency fund, we have to wait 7 months, and we're paying all this interest up the wazoo. Think about it. All this interest. Like, you're making minimum payments on every single credit card, right? We can see that minimum payments is a bad idea. That's the whole point of velocity banking, is just to get rid of those minimum payments, okay? So 7 months to save $1,000, just 7 months. Now, on day one, we went from a penny of savings to $5,345. Now, let's say here, when we're doing it the first month, oh my god, let me just copy and paste this, right? Oh my goodness. Instead of waiting until 7 months for that $1,000 emergency, I just had a $1,000 emergency in month one, right? So I'm going to add $1,000 here. No biggie, right? Like, no biggie. It's pretty much, we're still good, okay? And so let me go ahead and copy and paste this, and we'll see how long it takes us to pay it off. Okay, so let's see. So 37 months with that $1,000 emergency, okay? Now let's go back here and compare it to if we didn't have that $1,000 emergency. Guess what? We still pay it off in 37 months. Isn't that crazy? So even in month one, we have a $1,000 emergency. Let's add that back, okay? Let's add that back. So right now, this is before, this is after, and we still pay it off in 37 months. Oh my goodness, I'm so amazed, right? It's like an infomercial, right? I gotta put some cheesy sound and do the music, but yeah, I can't believe it. It's like that Simpsons Troy McClure infomercial guy. And you set it and forget it. That's another infomercial I like. Ron, I forgot his name, Popeil. All right, so you see that even in month one, we could just use our line of credit for emergencies, because our line of credit is our new savings account, right? Whereas, we do it the Dave Ramsey way. Whoopsie. We do it the Dave Ramsey way. It's going to take us 7 months. 7 months. And then during the 7 months, I got to calculate how much interest we're paying, because it's going to be really painful to pay all this 30%, 20%, 7% credit card interest and minimum payments, right? What are we doing? Yeah. So I know the title of the video is like so clickbaity. In fact, I remember this one time Dave was like complaining, and this was like years ago. Oh, some guy uses my face as clickbait, and he's a guy. What does he say? Like he's probably some dude who lives in his mom's basement, blogging about finance and is broke. Well, I'm a little bit older than that, Dave. Maybe once upon a time I was broke, but I ain't anymore, and I'm a little bit older. So why am I saying that? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was thinking about Dave ranting about people using his likeness as clickbait, which I'm doing right now, right? But it's more about education. It's more about comparison. Again, the opposite of the step one is literally velocity banking, saving $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Now, I know this is what people like to do, okay? They like to say things like, oh my goodness, this would be great, but who has a line of credit like this laying around, which is true, right? And why is it unrealistic to have a line of credit like this laying around? It's because banks don't lend money to people who need it, right? And this is the problem with financial education in this country. We only learn metaphorically how to drive the car once we've crashed it, right? And this is why it's strange, it's funny, is that I learned about velocity banking 3 years before I could ever apply it. 3 or 4 years. I just studied it. I was like, what's the big deal? Line of credit. Oh, you put your paycheck. And then the first year of when I did this, 25% of my mortgage gone. Right? 25% of my mortgage gone. I was like, whoa, this is a powerful strategy. Right? And so because I learned about it before I ever needed to use it, that's why I'm able to get so much credit. In fact, right now I have $268,000 in lines of credit. Trying to get a little bit more, but if they don't give me more because I got too much, whoop-de-doo, I got $268,000 in lines of credit. But what's the moral of the story? If you're asking yourself, oh, who has a line of credit laying around? This is why financial education is important, and also to understand how banks think, how lenders think. Banks don't lend you money when you need it, right? They don't. That's how I got $268,000 in lines of credit because I got it when I did not need it, right? The problem is that a lot of Americans think banks are like restaurants. Oh, I go to a restaurant because I'm hungry, right? Don't I go to a bank because I need money? Nope. That's not how they work, right? All right. So, again, another clickbait video with Dave Ramsey's face. Is Dave Ramsey's face even on here? Well, it's at least here, right? So, so what do you think? I mean, should we follow baby step one? I still think this is somewhat of a solid plan. This is like a B minus plan. I think if you take out the step five, it'll be like a B plus plan. But I still prefer this velocity banking over saving $1,000, right? Saving $1,000, please. All right. Well, this is Crane Line to Mentorship. Everybody have a great day, and we'll speak next time.